So yeah, this is an important point. I get asked that actually quite a lot. Can attachment styles change in life? Because that's something people experience, but usually they hear professionals talking about how it comes from childhood. And they can absolutely also shift in life from secure to an insecure attachment style, especially if you're with somebody, you lose your spouse like that. I mean, that's a huge shock to a human being's nervous system, because being connected is to our nervous system and brain. That's a matter of survival.
Welcome to episode 4 of season 6 for the Game on Glue podcast. I'm excited to have our guest on today that is going to be joining us shortly. She is joining us all the way from Germany. She is a psychologist, a relationship psychologist, and she's going to be sitting down and talking with us today about attachment styles. What is so interesting and unique about this is that as somebody with a social work background who spent many, many years in the field of social work before moving into media and storytelling, which was my real passion, but something I was hiding because at the time I was too scared to move into it. But what I realized and what I've learned, I didn't know anything about attachment styles. I didn't know anything about this idea of insecure attachment styles versus secure attachment styles. I never had the sense of, or the knowledge or awareness of different attachment styles. Now, what are they? We're going to be talking about them with our guest shortly. But what I've realized and what I've learned is that through my experiences in life as an adult, through the traumas that I have faced and what I have gone through through Mike's death, and subsequently a couple of other losses, and then this idea of navigating the dating world again, created a sense of insecurity, this anxious attachment in me at first. And what I butted up against was, how do I deal with that? How do I correct this? How do I stay present and aware of this so that I can stay in a secure attachment style, which is where I came from to begin with? It was where I started. It was how I had always been. It was how I grew up. It was my relationship with Mike. We had a very secure, healthy relationship, not without its bumps, not without its issues, not without its struggles, because no relationship is perfect. And I think this is something that we all need to be present and aware of. A good, healthy relationship is not a relationship that is just smooth sailing and calm all the time. A healthy relationship is one where you can meet each other in the middle, where sometimes you've got one person pulling the other one along to help them, and then the roles change and reverse. And then the other person is doing that for you instead of you for them, where you are able to say, it's my turn to step up. It's my turn to do this. It's also a place where you can learn from each other, where you can grow with each other. And it's what I'm realizing now as I navigate being in the dating world. And I'm learning a lot about myself. I need to learn how to navigate the newness of being in something different that is not what I knew and was accustomed to for 19 and a half years. I'm constantly learning and evolving and changing my style. And what I like about that is that it's teaching me. And that's the whole idea of all of this, isn't it? We need to constantly be growing, changing, evolving, no matter what age we are, no matter what stage of life we are. And when you are in a relationship where you can find a way to communicate with each other, where you can look at the other person and say, wow, they just taught me something. I didn't know this. Or that changes how I'm going to communicate with them about this. When you can have an uncomfortable conversation with a person and walk away from it saying, okay, we're good. We listened to each other. We heard each other. We're going to adapt, twist, make adjustments, make some tweaks. And at the core, you're still who you are. That is all about attachment styles. That is all about secure, healthy relationships. We should be 80 years old and still saying to ourselves, I don't have all the answers. I don't know everything. I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I'm still changing. That is the mark of a good, healthy mindset and good self awareness. Being able to be self aware, self present, being able to self correct and self soothe, being able to be mindful. And I talk about this with my guest coming up. Also, being able to say, I'm sorry. Those two words are so powerful. They are words that I am not afraid to say. When you can tell somebody, I'm sorry I said that, or I'm sorry I did that. I didn't recognize, I didn't know, I didn't mean to. I'm really sorry. Those are very powerful words. They're also very healing words. They speak volumes. So I'm very excited to have our guest on today. She talks about all of this. We talk about all of these different dynamics. Dr. Maika Steinborn corrected, I corrected her pronunciation. She's going to join us. She's a psychologist who deals in all of this. And I actually share a few things that I have not shared with you guys before. So she's going to sit down with us next after a brief word from one of our sponsors.
GT MedTech and Gametile Therapy are a premier sponsor of this season of the Game on Glio podcast. Learn more at gametile.com. Cortana Pharma is a premier sponsor of the Game on Glio podcast, developing highly targeted therapies for brain cancer. Learn more at cortanapharma.com. This episode is sponsored by Alpheus Medical, advancing a new approach in the battle against glioblastoma. Learn more at alpheusmedical.com.
So welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being with us for episode 4 here on season 6 of the Game on Glio podcast. I would love to bring on right now our guest today, Dr. Maika Steinborn, who is a psychologist that helps people better understand themselves and build healthier relationships. Through her YouTube channel and in her online platform and community, she shares practical psychology-based insights on attachment, self-worth, emotional growth. She helps people develop secure attachment styles, navigate the dating world and relationships from an attachment lens, and heal through and after breakups or divorce. So this is really, really vital. And I talk about this a little bit ahead of going into this episode. You know, this idea of attachment styles is not something that I was even very educated on as somebody with a social work background myself. For some reason, I was never fully present or aware of different attachment styles. Maybe it's because I grew up in a family that had very secure attachment styles. I had a healthy attachment style of my own to my late husband. So this idea of healthy attachment styles and unhealthy attachment styles was never something that was just on my radar, even given the work that I used to do. Can you explain a little bit the different types of attachment styles and how people form these attachment styles in youth that then play out in adulthood, especially if they're not self-aware of how these attachment styles can affect, relationships, intimate relationships, friendships, even work relationships. They can impact pretty much every aspect of any type of intimate, close relationship in your world.
Definitely. So, yeah, I think it makes sense what you shared about not being that aware of them because attachment styles are subconscious a lot of the time. They're always there, but we're not often that aware how our attachment style is present and what it's doing and how it's driving us to do certain things or take a step back from other things. So an attachment style is the way we show up in a relationship, how connection makes us feel, what our fears are in connection to relationships,
Mm-hmm.
and how we cope with those fears. So research has found 4 different attachment styles. You've already mentioned the secure attachment style, or we could call that one also the healthy attachment style.
Mm-hmm.
That is when there's like a core belief that I'm safe around other people. I can test their trustworthiness, but once I've done that and I know that I'm safe, I can just relax and be safe around them. I can tell them what I want and what I need, and I can know that they want to be there for me the way that I need them to be there for me. And I can also like feel a sense of reciprocation when I'm there for them. Then there's 3 other attachment styles that are called the insecure attachment styles.
Okay.
And then there's a third one that's kind of like a mix of the other 2. So I'll start with the 2. One is the anxious attachment style. And that is when core beliefs around relationships are more like, I know I need others, but I'm really afraid of losing them. That makes people clingy, or it can be hard to be alone, or they can feel like excessively preoccupied with a relationship, always trying to improve it, looking for something more, not really sure what's missing though, and sometimes also using ineffective strategies of trying to improve the relationship that then end up actually making the relationship worse. And then there's avoidant attachment, and that is in many ways like the opposite of insecure attachment. Core beliefs around that are sometimes it can be a lack of an awareness of even wanting relationships. It's like, I don't really need other people. I'm a loner. I've always been okay on my own. Or I need a lot of space. Often that comes from getting exhausted quickly in relationships because of not really knowing how to talk about things like, when am I exhausted? When do I need things to be different? And not even maybe knowing what that is that they need to be different, and then how to speak up about that. So then the solution becomes, I'm going to be in relationships, but only at like small dosages. So I can go in, but then I'll go back out again. I'll go in, and then it feels like I'm at the mercy of the other person. I can't really co-create what's happening there. And that's, of course, exhausting. So I'm going to like dip back out of it after I'm exhausted. And then the last attachment style is disorganized attachment, or fearful avoidant attachment. It's more, people with this attachment style are often traumatized, and they have the roughest kinds of childhoods. And in their behavior, you'd see them switch back and forth between clinging, but then also pushing people away. So it can be confusing. And that's why at first the researchers called it disorganized. There is, of course, always a logic to inner patterns, but it can look very illogical from the outside.
My understanding is, because I did a bit of a deeper dive myself, and whether it's been in certain friendships that I've developed since my husband's death, with anxious attachment styles, I've noticed that, people seem to want to cling tighter. They hold on tighter because they're anxious about where it's going or what it could be. They have to hold close because their anxiety over how things are going within the relationship get to them, and they don't know how to co-regulate that. And with avoidant, I've noticed that maybe not so much the fearful, disorganized, but maybe the straight avoidant. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like they want the intimacy, or at least individuals who are self-aware that this is now what's going on. They want that intimacy and they want to be close, but they're more avoidant of their own feelings and have never really known how to express or communicate or be with their own feelings, be comfortable with their own feelings. Everything develops in childhood. Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean,
okay.
Things can shift throughout your life, but the roots and fundament is built in childhood. Yeah.
That's an interesting concept because, for people who are watching this, childhood development is so crucial to how we behave in adulthood. And to be frank, I don't think, for as hard as it was to lose Mike, especially given that he was the love of my life, we had a very secure attachment, very healthy relationship, even though there were ups and downs.
Yeah.
We had a very, you can't have a relationship with, relationships are not smooth. They're not supposed to be. Yeah. But because of my upbringing, even when there were bumps in the road, and even with my parents, they had a hard time. My parents have been married for over 50 years. They had rough patches in their relationship. But what we saw as children, me and my brother and my sister, was that when they had hard times, they found a way to communicate. They learned. Or when one partner had trouble communicating, the other one knew how to step up and say, this is where we really need to go, or this is what we need to be doing, or met them halfway and then kind of helped pull them forward. And my parents, they did counseling when they needed to. They worked very, very hard in their relationship to find ways to get through. And that taught us as kids. And, I'd love you to speak on this because healthy, secure attachment styles, healthy relationships are extremely important and vital for us as adults, um,
Mhm.
because we're human beings and we do need a sense of community, and there needs to be consistency
Mhm.
and security in the healthy relationships that we develop. So, can you speak to the importance of that? Why is it so important for us to have healthy, secure attachment styles as we get older and as adults?
Well, thank you for sharing all of that. I mean, we are a social species. We are built for connection. 99% of people need a relationship or somebody, close people. When we're isolated, we don't do well. We develop depression, anxiety, other mental health issues.
Mhm.
Life is hard already. So why not team up and have somebody to, yeah, support you when you need it or to support them and feel connected and feel understood and like a team. It's always easier to do things as a team. And of course, that coming to the secure part, that is the easier or it's easier and better and more smoothly if the team has a secure attachment because that's where we actually really do connect and that's where we get all the benefits of a relationship. And with anxious avoidant dynamics, you can actually be in a relationship but still feel like something's missing or like you're not really loved or like for the avoidant, it sometimes can feel like the relationship is boring or
Mhm.
like superficial. For the anxious person, it can feel like I'm not really wanted, I'm not really important to them. That means in the end, neither one's attachment needs really get met, right? Like, so this is also interesting to think about that we have emotional needs. Like we want to have like a good sense that I'm a good person. I have self-esteem. We want to know that I can control my life or have some agency. I know what's going on.
Mhm.
And then we also have attachment needs, and that's like a specific form of an emotional need. And these are needs that can only be fulfilled in a relationship. So without having another person there, you can't stand in front of the mirror and tell yourself, I love you, but then have the experience of having another person say that.
Right.
And yeah, that's why healthy relationships are so important.
Is it safe to say too that especially as we age, as we get older, and I've seen multiple studies on this, and there's a lot of conversation around blue zones across the world, and this idea of not just a sense of community as we age, but relationships as we age. And I saw this one study. There was actually a documentary kind of wrapped around it as well. There was an older individual, a man who was, at the time that they did the documentary, he was 97, very healthy, outside of some mild hearing issues, doing very, very well, had become a widower in his late 60s, early 70s, found love and a partner and a relationship again, I think several years later. So by the time he was in his late 70s, met somebody and they were still together. And he
So,
talked about how he felt like his body was breaking down and declining after he lost his wife. And then all of a sudden, he felt renewed when he found this other relationship. And a lot of research and studies show that intimacy and partnership as we age actually helps increase longevity. It's good for us emotionally, it's good for us physically. There's a spirituality component, but it just seems to this sense of intimate relationship, having a partner as we age tends to benefit our health. And
mhm.
is that pretty factual?
Yeah, 100%. I've seen those studies. There, it comes up again and again. I've also seen the other side of those studies. Like there is a study that shows if you're isolated or lonely,
Mhm.
it's like smoking, I think like a pack of cigarettes a day. Like it was quite an amount, not like light smoking, but heavy smoking. That's the kind of risk factors on your physical health by, yeah, being isolated and lonely. So,
Which is really
yeah.
astounding to think about,
Mhm.
how not having a sense of community, a sense of purpose, or an intimate partner that you can share day-to-day stuff with, that you can talk to, that takes care of you, or, you cook for each other, or that sense of isolation and sense of loneliness can actually, a pack of cigarettes a day, I mean, that's painting a pretty good picture
Yeah.
of what it can do to you, your physical health, along with, emotional needs.
Mhm.
On the opposite side of that, let's reverse this a little bit and talk about social media, because I feel like social media creates a false sense of community and a false
Mhm.
sense of positive, healthy attachment. I also get the sense that, especially for people who aren't aware of or don't understand what insecure attachment styles are and what a secure, healthy attachment style is, we're both individuals who are influencers on social media. We have YouTube channels. We are part of social media. However, I work very hard to balance the time I'm on social media. There is no pretense to what I do on social media. It is what it is. I'm very real and authentic, and I detach from it. When I'm in front of somebody, I having those real conversations in
Mhm.
person, talking to somebody on the phone, having FaceTime with somebody, going out to dinner with somebody, or having coffee with somebody. There is a difference between that and just posting on social media. And I've kind of gotten the sense over the years and watching this that I don't say this to create an outburst from social media, but I get the sense that social media has kind of contributed to some of these insecure attachment styles, especially because you get these quick fixes of community or attachment. And then
Mhm.
that's enough, and it's
Yeah.
this 30-second gratification, 1-minute gratification, and then you're on to the next.
Mhm.
So can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think definitely social media has many pros. That's why we use them. That's why they're there. But
Mhm.
then it depends on how you use them. They can really become part of the problem if people use them to replace relationships. If
Mhm.
and because often what social media allows you to do is kind of have an insecure relationship with somebody, and it superficially fixes something, like you said, like in the sense there's not another person that you have to negotiate with. You can
Mhm.
just turn the media off when you've had enough. Yeah, so there you don't learn the vital skills that you actually need to be present in connection and experience connection. And we could also argue it's not the full like round wholehearted connection experience either, right? It's like an aspect of it and it can help with connection, but it could never replace talking to somebody or looking somebody into the eye and seeing their direct live response to you and the feelings that creates. I mean, I've also or something I've been thinking about lately is ChatGPT, and I hear from a lot of people that they like using ChatGPT to like talk with somebody when they're lonely. And when I first heard this, I was always like, okay, because usually people tell this to me and they're really excited that I have a solution now. And something in me was like, okay, well, I'm glad for you that in the moment you're feeling better. But then something else in me thought, could this also have negative consequences, right? Because in the end, ChatGPT is not a person and it can't feel. So you might get some cognitive resonance, but it's not the same as having emotional resonance with
Mhm.
somebody or like a real person.
Right. But there is this real sense that, it's immediate gratification. And I think that's what we need to understand as a society, is that there is a difference between AI or social media and real in-depth human connection. I mean, when I was a kid, there was no, cell phones were just becoming a thing, and they were these big honking things, and you didn't have Blackberries yet, and you didn't
Mhm.
have this, you couldn't text and you couldn't pull up memes and emojis. And, I mean, I didn't even have a cell phone till I was in my mid 20s.
Mhm.
Um, TV was basic. There were no streaming services. You didn't use laptops very readily yet. You sat around a dinner table to talk and
Mhm.
communicate. You walked down the street to a friend's house to go hang out. You went, for runs and, jogging and walking with your friends. You played sports. There was all this on the weekends. I mean, I lived on a cul-de-sac when I was a kid, and we used to do neighborhood cul-de-sac parties in the summer where everybody got together in the middle of the circle and you'd put out all these picnic tables and everybody had food that they would bring out and potlucks, and the kids would play games and the adults would talk and have beverages, and and you would do that. The kids would play hide and seek around the circle, and you do that till dusk, until dark, and then everybody would take the table, and it was fun, and there was community, and there was togetherness.
Yeah.
That is this experience that we have in this life, is that we're constantly evolving and learning and changing and growing right up until the day that we die.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that mindset. And I think also it connects so well to what you said about that is easiest done in connection to other people, right? Because if we withdraw and isolate, there's no impetus, nothing, no mirroring, nothing that could maybe even provoke change or also heal shame. I think social media or AI wouldn't ever look at somebody and say, I think maybe you're judging yourself wrong. Maybe there's nothing wrong with you in the sense that you're thinking like funnily, minimally, I love you the way you are. And I know there's things you're working on and that's really awesome. You're accountable, but if you're just yourself, otherwise you're more than enough. Those are usually not enough the kinds of experiences that we can really get on a deep emotional level so that they really stick with social media.
Yeah, I agree with that. And to that, I would love to talk about this idea, and it kind of plays off of this a little bit. As we talk about these insecure attachment styles and how they develop and how they're formed, especially as we talk about widows, widowers, losing a spouse or a partner, especially at a younger age, not being prepared for that. When you get married, Mike and I got married when I was 29. And when you say till death do us part, in the back of your head, you're thinking till death do us part means in my 80s, my 90s, God willing, we're much older, we're retired, we've had kids, grandkids, we've done all the things in this world. Not as we're getting started and, trying to have kids and, and then all of a sudden now you're gone and I have to start all over again. And I feel like, and I'd love for you to speak on this, can it create a sense, because I do feel for myself, going from such a secure attachment style in most of my life, I think there was some anxious attachment styles in friendships growing up that I was very aware of because I was bullied as a kid. And so I feel like I worked very hard to make friends and would kind of push myself to be something I wasn't because I wanted friendships. As I got older, I became more secure in who I was and realized that you either like me for who I am or you don't. And I'm not going to change who I am to meet your needs. I don't need to be popular. I don't need to fit a narrative. But it took a long time to get there with friendships. When it came to relationships and family, it was completely different. I was so secure with that. It was just with the friendships. But I noticed after Mike died, there was a little bit of anxious attachment for me, especially as I started to just recently in the last couple of years, try to open myself up to dating again. There was this, I felt like, and I could see it, I could sense it, there was a bit of this anxious attachment within me because of what I had gone through. So could you speak to that a little bit? Just how that can actually happen, that you could grow up very secure and then have things happen in adulthood that can create a sense of insecure attachment style. And how do you work through that? How do you make sure you do identify that so that you can get back on the track of being a secure adult, especially when you've had traumatic adult experiences like that happen?
Yeah. So yeah, this is an important point. I get asked that actually quite a lot. Can attachment styles change in life? Because that's something people experience, but usually they hear professionals talking about how it comes from childhood. And they can absolutely also shift in life from secure to an insecure attachment style, especially if you're with somebody, you lose your spouse like that. I think that's a huge shock to a human being's nervous system, because being connected is to our nervous system and brain. That's a matter of survival. So if there's a loss of connection, our brain goes into a mode of this is red alert, this is bad, this is threatening, this is a matter of survival. So very stressful, very dysregulating. That can, of course, enhance maybe certain insecurities that have already been there, or also create new ones just as a response to this traumatic life event. It's really important to process this life event in a way that allows you to find back to a secure position, just secure attachment, and really find a way to, because it's likely that your nervous system, like you explained it so well, that sometimes things will be going well, but then if there is an issue with your partner health-wise, you can kind of feel the anxiety flaring back up. And that is actually completely natural. And what we need then is to learn, how can I soothe that down? Like if it flares up, what can I do to kind of catch myself in that, or catch my nervous system when it's shifting like that? And how can I step out of that and look at it as like from the observer's perspective? And how can I soothe myself back to a regulated and secure place?
So what tips would you offer? What tips can you give to our listeners and our watchers on how to be mindful of that, especially because we do have a huge contingent of followers that are either caregivers currently or are young, widowed, male or female. And especially because, not that you shouldn't when you're older, but when you're young, there is a sense of, I'm probably going to open myself up at some point, or try to. So what tips do you have so that people can be mindful of, okay, am I moving into an insecure attachment style right now because of my circumstances, because of what I've gone through, the trauma? How do you find a way to stay balanced in that, or stay present in that, so that you can stay emotionally secure and stable for yourself and, potentially whoever you're with down the road? What tips would you offer to somebody?
First, to like how to notice that. It's definitely, if you just like, you can observe your body and your mind in the sense that if they're shifting into a stressful state, if you feel more flustered or more shut down, those are signs that something's going on. And also checking in with your inner dialogue. Like shifting into insecurity could sound like, I'll never find somebody again. Like I would like to, but it feels like it's never going to happen. Or if it happens, I'll lose them again. So there's no way for me to have a stable relationship that's going to last decades. That kind of a fear. Or the other side could also be, that would be like a shift more into avoidance, that I'm not really sure I want this anymore. But something about that feels off. It feels like, it's like a protective move, not really something that is authentic. So kind of shutting down in connection to that like inner aspect of wanting connection and seeking attachment. And those are like, in the psychotherapy counseling world, we would call those also sometimes like inner child states, or if you don't like those metaphors, you can call it anything else. You could also call it the part of you that's shaken up from this trauma. And what's important then is to know that, hey, there's more to me. Like I'm a complex human being. I have different inner parts, and then to shift into something else, like a different mode, to connect with something in you that gives you hope and strength and clarity, so that you can remind yourself that what happened was horrific, but the likelihood, at this, or at the same time, the likelihood that that's going to happen again is almost so small, it's almost negligible. And if I really want to, I can find somebody. The likelihood that that's going to go well is also high, so you can kind of talk to yourself like a friend would, or a mentor, or or a kind counselor or therapist that would give you hope and cheer you up.
Speaking to this kind of idea of self-awareness, self-care, emotionally, after going through a trauma like this, what advice would you give a young widow or widower that is starting to open up to dating again after having lost a spouse or partner? How should they move through that process? And I know for everybody, it's, there's different, it's different for every individual who's moving through it. but there's, so many people are coming into this with a lot of their own, you've got history on both sides. So people who are in their 30s and their 40s or 50s that, the one person has lost their spouse or their partner. Well, the other person is coming in with their own history and their own baggage, whether it's divorce, breakup, their own insecure attachment style that has created, just a pattern their whole life. Everybody's coming into the situation with something. So, what advice do you have for widows and widowers that are entering this phase at this stage of life? Because everybody else is in that stage of life as well and navigating it from their own history.
Mm-hmm. I think the first thing that comes to mind is to know that if there's no age where it's like inappropriate or not okay to be in that phase in life. It could happen to anybody that they start over out of different reasons, right? And not to feel like I'm too old for this or this is weird, but just no, this is what it is, and I'm going to go for it. Not to second guess that you are where you are and that you want what you want and that you're going to do what you need to do. The second thing that comes to mind is I think it's important to be open about what you went through, just to let the other person know so that they know and that you know and that it's a thing that you can talk about. Of course, you're going to talk about it more as the relationship progresses, not right from the beginning, maybe in all detail. That's natural, but to not have it something that you hide or feel like you have to manage completely on your own, because it's also good to get a sense of how does the other person respond to that? How are they able to be present with that? And you can already tell a lot just by bringing up personal things like this from what their attachment style is and how they see the relationship progressing or what they are looking for in a relationship.
Is it safe to say that we shouldn't be scared of communication?
Yes, that's a very good and safe thing to say. Yeah, exactly. Yes, absolutely. Because there's this quote that I really like. You can't, like, a human being can't not communicate.
Mm-hmm.
But we can communicate in different ways. We can do it openly and authentically, or we can do it inauthentically in hidden ways.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when people end up feeling manipulated or lied to or frustrated and attachment needs don't get met and things become very messy and complicated. So if you're direct and open, that makes things more smooth and fulfilling, and attachment needs actually end up getting met.
And the reason I say this and I bring this up, and it's for everybody who's watching and listening, communication it's gold. I mean, it is literally the gold currency of how to live life presently and fully. And it is uncomfortable and it is messy at times. And sometimes we don't always say the right things, and that's okay. I mean, I had an experience where, with a very close friend, where I was feeling very raw, and I was going through it was the anniversary of Mike's death, and it's always a very hard time of year for me. And I was really needing my friends to just kind of be around me at that point, and everybody was busy and had their life and doing things. And I said something to a friend that came off in a way that it wasn't meant to, but it just came off wrong. And thankfully they said something, and they're a little bit avoidant, but they said something. And I said, "Oh my God, I am so sorry." I'm like, that's not what I meant at all. And I really apologize for that. Not that it was easy to say that, but I said it, and I said, always tell me. Always tell me.
Yeah.
If I say something that comes off wrong or weird or doesn't sit right, tell me.
Yeah.
Say something to me, because I am completely okay being told, you're not, no, or I don't feel this way, or, and I'm very secure in that sense and I actually felt good afterward. And I think they felt better because they were like, oh God, okay, she handled that really well. And I think it made us a little bit closer.
Yeah.
And so communication is so vital, no matter who you're speaking to. And sometimes we get frustrated and we get angry and we say things the wrong way. And, and even Mike and I used to do that. And then we would backtrack and we would say, I was just really frustrated and I'm really sorry. And just being able to say, I'm sorry, there's a lot of power in that. There's a lot of forgiveness in those two words, and there's a lot of healing with
Yeah.
those. And especially in an intimate relationship, is it safe to say that no matter how you communicate, finding a way to communicate with somebody and not being triggered by the communication, but being able to truly sit and listen to each other and meet each other halfway? I mean, how important is that, especially for
Yes.
intimate relationships?
That's super important. I think that is the place where relationships get messy or turn into troubled relationships, but it can also be the place where healing takes place.
Mhm.
I also really like what you shared about this belief around repair, that repair is possible, which is a core belief of secure attachments. But hey, I can mess up. We all do. Like, secure attachment doesn't mean being perfect or having the perfect relationship. Right? That doesn't exist. But it means knowing that if I do something that's upsetting, if the other person does something that upsets me, we can talk about this. We can let each other know. We can brainstorm, where did this come from? What can we do that it doesn't happen again? We can apologize. And so, in a way, yes, you don't have to be overly worried about what you're going to say, as long as you start having a conversation.
Mhm.
And then when you're attentive in that conversation to really figure things out, then you will get to that place of having heard each other and having understood each other, and of having made amends and repaired the emotional injury that happened.
Mhm. For our viewers that are watching, and I want this to be something very hopeful, no matter what age we're at in life, is it safe to say that if you recognize or realize that you have an insecure attachment style, whether it's anxious, whether it is avoidant, whether it is fearful, disorganized, once you become aware of it, is that the first step to being able to heal? And then that self-awareness, and can you heal and turn into a secure attachment style no matter how old you are?
Yes, you can, absolutely. This is a thought that I wanted to share with you. Mm, and I think this is a good place to address it, for your question, but also for another thought that I had. So there's a difference in how, so in uh, professional speak, the language would be how egosyntonic something feels, or dystonic. So egosyntonic means when somebody has a problem and it's like, no, this isn't a problem. This is me. This is just who I am, and the world has to deal with it.
Mhm.
Versus if it's dystonic, that means you can kind of see that, yeah, I think I am contributing to the problems I'm having in relationships in these and for that ways, and I'm working on it. Like, this doesn't feel like it's me. It doesn't feel like part of myself,
Mm.
my authentic self. And if somebody has that, and that means they're able to see that my attachment style, my insecure attachment, is something that I was created in me by the experiences I went through in life, and I can always outgrow that and develop a secure attachment style.
Mm.
So there's no reason to doubt that. And if somebody's having a hard time, I recommend looking for help, because there's lots of really wonderful trained professionals that really know these things and can help you go through those steps. And the other reason I wanted to bring this up is, if you're not sure, like if the person you're dating, you're not really sure if, because it's likely you might meet somebody who's not 100% at secure attachment. And if you want to figure out, is this a safe person to invest into? Well, could this work out? Because it can. You don't have to necessarily both be at 100% secure attachment.
Mhm.
And then this is also a good place to look, how egosyntonic or dystonic is this to
Mm.
them? Or like, are they aware that they're contributing to certain problems through their insecure attachment style? Or is it more like, no, this is actually your problem, and I don't have to deal with this
Mhm.
kind of attitude? Yeah.
That's extremely helpful, and very hopeful.
Well,
And I hope that people are able to take that away, that we can always evolve
mhm,
and heal core wounds, and it all starts with self-awareness,
mhm,
self-recognition, being able to do the work for
mhm,
ourselves, even if it's something simple like writing in a journal, or, finding a way to be uncomfortable, be comfortable in the uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Going from an insecure attachment style to a secure attachment style. And this idea too, because you brought this up, that if one person is secure and the other person, let's say, is avoidant, there is a way to be in a very healthy relationship and dynamic, especially if the person who's avoidant recognizes and is self-aware and is just trying to move through it carefully so that they can be in a place where they want to be with the relationship, and that the secure person, there is a way to be happy and healthy and for both people to grow. Because even in a secure, even if you're the secure one in the relationship, there's still growing and evolving and learning that takes place. So this
Definitely.
idea that there's hope in that you can grow through, and for those who have lost a partner or a spouse, to know that, yes, I may feel like this and I feel like I've gone backwards in some of my attachment style, but I can find a way to move through, and that there are techniques and tips and counseling or support or self-awareness that can take place to help reduce the triggers, to recognize patterns, that we can continuously shape how we see moving in a relationship, but that it's so important. I mean, is that fair to say? It's just so vital and important to be able to be open.
Yeah. 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 And if there's parts in some listeners noticing, yeah, I'm like, there's ambiguity there. Like part of me wants to be open and part of me is just really afraid of getting hurt, or then that's okay too, as long as you allow this hopeful part enough space, and if you allow that space to kind of call the shots and take the other part like at the hand and say, come on, we've got this. We can take small steps. Even if there's some friction, which probably will be there. There's no way of learning to get to secure attachment by just isolating and hiding in your own like house, apartment. Like you have to get out there. You have to engage with people. If there's going to be some friction, it's going to be very worth it and very rewarding. And it's going to feel like this is what life is actually supposed to be like, right? To be connected with others, to exchange love, to experience love, of different kinds of love, friendships, family, romantic. And it's all still possible and there for you.
I love that. I want everybody to realize too, Dr. Steinborn has she's got a YouTube channel. You've got a ton of videos out there that is just so powerful and so moving. And I came across you as I was looking for things to help me. As I was navigating, the world of dating again. So if people wanted to learn more or be involved, what can they do? How can people find you?
So they can go to my webpage, which is www.maikasteinborn.com.
Now, I noticed you pronounced your last name Steinborn. Okay, so I said it wrong earlier.
Oh, that's totally okay.
So for everybody, way of for everybody who's watching, you're located in Germany now. You were over in the States for a long time, but you have now moved back over there. But you do a ton of work with clients and stuff in the States.
I think I speak more English than German in my daily life, but somehow that's like, but I'm fine. People can pronounce my name either way. That's both.
Well, I'm so grateful that you were able to share, a little bit about the work that you're doing and this idea of different attachment styles and how it affects us as we go through adulthood. I do think it's really vital that, moving through life, there is so many different things that happen to us that shape us, even as adults, even if we started out one way, very healthy, and in adulthood, life happens, there's no way to really control that. And so talking a bit about this, I mean, even some of the stuff that you've said, I'm learning from that, even with the amount of research I did into it before, I'm like, oh God, I didn't know that. That's a really good point. So it's very hopeful. And I hope everybody that's watching is able to see that and understand that there's always room to grow and to have positive experiences with closeness and relationships. And for anybody who is watching, you have an Instagram handle, correct?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Is that the same as the website?
Yeah. It's my name.
Okay.
So if they look for my name, then they'll find it.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. And there's a YouTube channel. And so we will have all of this on our website, when we put this out, and then we'll have hyperlinks to so everybody can find a way to connect. But thank you so much. I mean, this was it was a beautiful conversation. It was a very open conversation. There's a lot of healing and growth that can be had through this kind of conversation. So I'm really grateful for your time and for sharing some of your wisdom and your advice and just, for chatting with me today.
Well, thanks for inviting me. I really enjoyed being here. And thank you also for the work you do for humanity and people who have gone through suffering or loss. And I think this is so important that people share their stories. And I think you're such a great example of also turning it into something positive and really helping people and finding yourself in that. And it's so amazing to see somebody who is in such a positive place. And that's a really good example, I think, also for your whole community, that it's possible to move through something that's hard and get to a hopeful place and a positive place and a happy place. You seem genuinely happy.
I'm getting there. I'm a work in progress. But I am. I've been doing some stuff on social media where this is my year of self-care. So, and my year of letting joy just be present instead of letting my circumstances define joy. So yes. We'll see how it takes shape, but yeah, I'm growing and learning and evolving from all of my experiences, and I'm trying to just let it carry me forward the best way possible. So thank you for that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, thank you everybody so much for joining us for this amazing episode, and we will be right back.
This episode is sponsored by Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield, healthcare that's a better fit for your life right now. Learn more at highmark.com.
Here's your healthy minute from Highmark.
Building short breaks into your day can make a big difference in managing stress. Set aside a little time for something you genuinely enjoy. Listening to music, reading a few pages of a book, taking a walk outside, or working on a hobby. These small moments help you reset, recharge, and return to your day feeling more focused and refreshed. Did you know that with Highmark's mental health solutions, you can often see a therapist in as little as 3 days, virtually or in person? It's care personalized to your needs for both adults and children. Find out more about these essential mental health services and other resources by visiting the mental well-being section on My Highmark.
You've been listening to the Game on Glio podcast, the podcast that is designed to educate, advocate, and tell the real stories of those walking the journey of brain cancers such as glioblastoma and grief and loss. Like what you hear? Share us with others. Follow us on Instagram at Game on Glio Podcast, Facebook at Game on Glio, or visit our website or YouTube channel. You can find us anywhere podcasts are played.